access to education. Let's work on gender equality. Let's work on climate action, because we know that we all can do it. For me, my goal is to go global, but I know I need to start from the grassroots, and I'm not stopping anytime soon. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Shafiu Mahmoud from Kano State. I'm an SDG advocate, Cohort 7. This cohort has given me a chance to connect with more people, know more about the SDG, know how to contribute to the community, and so on. So for the entire program, we participated in three aspects. The first one is on a school project, the second one is the virtual advocacy, and the third one is community-based project. For the on a school project, I engage with students, I learn them more about the SDG, we connected, we share idea. Students are very amazing. I love that experience very much. The second one is the honor school project, where we talk about the health issue, because health is very crucial and health is wealth. So we talk about the health issue concerning the community and how to tackle them and so on. And the third one, that is the community-based project, where we carried our sanitation program at Sabongari Market. So that was another experience that I can never forget, because we get to connect with the market people, we get to engage with other stakeholders in the government and the market management and so on. This has opened my eyes, has helped me gain give more to the community, make more impact and contribution. Thank you for giving us the chance.
Hello, my name is Onilude Sulaiman Buluwatife, a change maker and SDG advocate from Zaria, Kaduna State, Nigeria. Yeah, one of the core value that guide my leadership journey is change making rooted in service, especially toward achieving sustainable development goals with a strong focus on SDG 3, good health and well-being, and SDG 4, quality education. So this value became central to me because of my personal experience in my community. Growing up in Zaria, I witnessed how marginalized group like children, young girl, low-income families struggle to access quality education and basic health information. One moment that shaped me was when I supported a small community outreach program in a settlement where many young people had dropped out from school due to poverty. So during my journey, I met a young boy who told me he wanted to be a doctor, but he had no access to textbook or mentors. So that moment helped me realize that opportunity is not equally distributed, but leadership can help to break the gap. So since then, I have committed myself to being a change maker. So my goal is to continue driving meaningful impact in Zaria and across northern Nigeria by creating space where marginalized youth thrive, stay healthy, and remain in school. Thank you very much. Once again, to express myself.
By name Lamidi Ohino Ifad, a student of Federal University Lokoja from Kogi State, Nigeria, and my SDG of interest is SDG 13, that's climate action. My journey so far and my experience so far, the journey throughout the SDG Advocate program, it has been impactful and inspiring. What stands out was learning from stakeholders and making changes and making people to see hope, and also young minds interested in being advocates for sustainability for the future. And also the most impactful moments of the activity, the most significant that having more impact on me was our community-based projects, and the Own a School initiative, because I had the privilege of engaging with students, youths, and some stakeholders on pressing issues, exchanging ideas with them, and also looking for possible collaborations to see that we can drive a sustainable environment. Then my contribution to the change of the program, I would say in my own little way, I have contributed in the field of advocacy because I am inspired to carry out more advocacy and educate young minds about the sustainable development goals, its aim, mission, and vision towards the attainment of the 2030 agenda, and also catching the young minds young. Then my message, a word of advice and encouragement to the general public on the importance of sustainability and development action. The communities and the general public, is important to keep a sustainable future, because when we have a sustainable future, we know that yes, we are not eating from what we are going to enjoy in the future, and we are not causing harm or shortening the ration of the future endeavors. And my appreciation, I'm going to close by expressing my appreciation and sincere gratitude to the organizers of the UN SDSN Youth Cohort 7 Advocacy Program, the organizers, the partners, and also the mentors, and everyone, the partners who supported us through the state team leads for their tireless effort, team members, fellow advocates. Thank you very much, and God bless us all.
Hello everyone, my name is Esther Chima. I am a science laboratory technology professional and precisely chemistry biochemistry. I'm also an SDG advocate. I'm from Abia State but currently living in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. The SDG I am passionate about is SDG 3, which talks about good health and well-being. So, being part of the SDG Advocate Program has been a life-changing experience for me. Each phase opened my eyes and taught me how small actions can create big impact. The trainings, they were very practical. They were very
All right, thank you so much to our technical and media team for that powerful video highlight. We appreciate the effort that goes into making this experience seamless. Can you hear me? Can we confirm that you could hear me? All right, thank you very much, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to week 3 of the SDG Advocate Program Cohort 8 Masterclass series. My name is David Ekwe, and I'll be moderating this session alongside Ifunaya Juliet Oti. On behalf of the SDGSN Youth Nigerian team, I'm excited to welcome each and every one of you. Now, before we go any further, I believe we've heard the impact stories and all. So let's also bring in the energy in the room. So if you're live at the YouTube live chat, please drop in your favorite emojis so that we keep this movement moving. Let's see. Drop your favorite emojis, show reactions. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And as you know, if you know any fellow advocates who is currently not on the session at this period, it's to do them good, and it's a perfect time for you to reach out to them. Ensure you share the link, post on your social media, and let them know that we are live, because today's session will definitely be one of those sessions that you do not want to miss. All right, so moving forward, as you all know, this is the week 3, and so we've had the first week, we've had the second week, and so for the first week, we sort of laid the foundation and framing of our sustainable development goal advocacy journey, and so we talked about understanding SDG, we talked about structures, we talked about interlinkage, and of course, the Nigerian reality towards understanding the SDG goals. Also, we understood how to utilize system thinking in SDG implementation. And then of the second week, we prioritized cross-cutting SDG action. And so we talked about climate change or climate and environment for sustainable society, and also how to design multi-impact initiative, basically designing projects that we know would actually create multiple impacts across the board. Now, this week, I'm building on everything that we've done so far. Today's session will focus on the critical aspect of advocacy, or your advocacy journey. We'll be talking about communication as well as leadership. And so as SDG advocates, passion alone is not enough. And so we have to be able to clearly communicate our ideas, influence our audience, and of course, lead with purpose and integrity. And so in today's session, we'll be exploring how storytelling can be used as a strategic tool for advocacy, and how leadership principles can actually help guide us in creating meaningful and sustainable impacts. For today's session, of course, we have 2 speakers. As normal, we'll have the first session and of course the second session. For the first session after will be followed by a Q&A session where you'll be able to ask questions. And of course, we have our speakers on ground to actually reply those questions that you have. We'd also have like a brief info session, a recap announcement, and of course the closing remarks. So as always, we encourage every participant on the call, on the live, we encourage you to actually participate. And of course, since we're already live on YouTube, do not forget to drop your questions in the chat during the session, as we will be taking selected questions during the Q&A section. So stay engaged and take notes. So we'll be moving into our first session of the day. And so it is my pleasure to invite our first speaker for today's masterclass, the person of Mr. Nanpak Sifat. And so I'll be reading his bio so that we know what wealth of wisdom we are about to experience. So Mr. Nanpak Sifat is a communication and governance professional with extensive experience using storytelling, media engagement, and digital advocacy to advance social accountability. youth participation and community lead development across Africa. He currently serves as the communication officer, media's relations at Connected Development, which is code, long form for code, one of Africa's leading civil society organization working at the intersection of governance, transparency, climate justice, and citizen engagement. With a background in public relations and public administration, he has supported grassroots organization, social movements, and development programs to translate local impact into compelling narrative that attracts funding, influence policy, and mobilize public support. His expertise spans strategic communication, planning, social media advocacy, media relations, campaign design, and capacity building. He has also facilitated storytelling and communication training for civil society actors, youth leaders, and helping them move from basic visibility to strategic influence. His approach emphasizes practical tools, ethical storytelling, and context-aware digital engagement, ensuring that community voices are amplified without being diluted or misrepresented. So today he will be talking about the topic strategic storytelling for SDG advocacy. So advocates, kindly pay close attention, take note of your questions for the Q&A segment. Mr. Nanpak, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Over to you. Mr. Nanpak, are you here?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. A very, very good afternoon to you all. It's a pleasure to join you on this amazing conversation, and thank you to the amazing team for what you're doing, even in advancing not only knowledge of the sustainable development goals, but implementation of it, because how will you know, how will you do if you don't know? And so what you're doing now, it's very important that we raise advocates, and advocates are able to replicate learning, and also replicate, most importantly, advocate for these learnings even as we go. Once again, thank you very much. So let's go straight to the conversation. I have 45 minutes. It seems as if I've spent part of that time. So let's go straight to the conversation and why we're here today. Can you see my screen? Okay, I'm not sure I can hear anybody. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. So the topic of conversation today is strategic story. And currently I work with Connected Development here in our basic session. What are the basic things that we need to learn, at the end of this session? We should be able to understand storytelling as a powerful SDG tool, and as well as tailor these messages, for any audience, because we engage with a lot of audience. I mean, there are different strata of society that we will be engaging with. I mean, maybe for some of us, listening to the testimonial earlier on, the people from different parts of the country, joining in. So how do we tailor our message for specific audience? And then I'm going to also introduce something, a framework I'm working on. It's called the NARA framework. I'll share with you. I've been using that framework for quite a while now in sharing insights around storytelling around communication, most especially as it engages people, and also just basic how to craft a 2-minute advocacy speech. In our topic, yeah, basic concept. So as a research student, there are concepts that we need to establish, the knowledge of them. We need to know them before we go into the conversation in total. So firstly, strategic storytelling. I know for a lot of us that grew around villages or that had our grandparents around, there is what they usually do most times in the evenings. They tell a lot of stories and they will come story, story, story. Or perhaps for some of us that were opportune to watch, I think on NTA that time, is it Moonlight Story or something of that nature? You know, it's basically telling you story about certain things. I mean, telling you story about tortoise and how tortoise was this, how the rabbit did this. The idea at the end of the day is to communicate a particular message. But what do they do in telling that story? It connects, it speaks to your emotions, it speaks to the humanity in you. At the end of the day, a particular message is crafted out. But in this instance, strategic storytelling is the ability to purposefully design a message targeting a particular audience with a specific response in mind. So it's not the regular storytelling now that you are able to humanize a message, or you're able to tell it in a certain way that the audience, is able to understand, or everybody is able to understand. Strategic storytelling, it's been specific, it's been strategic. You are deliberate, you are intentional about this particular communication that you want to do. You want to communicate, you want to tell a story, you want to share an idea, but you are specific on the idea. You are specifically targeting an audience. And as well, you are specifically calling for an action. That's strategic storytelling. SDG advocacy, on the other hand, it's basically a strategic communication to drive awareness on policies and action. As we all know, there are 17 goals with tens of goals, expectations, under it. So it's the ability to strategically communicate these things, to strategically look, okay, you are advocating, you are doing advocacy for SDG 1, for SDG 2, for SDG 3. So it's a strategic communication to drive awareness and as well policy action. But permit me to say it also does not only ends with policy action, but as well implementation on the long run, because with policy action should be able to drive implementation. Next concept we need to understand is narrative. What is a narrative? Narrative is basically a structured account centered on a character and a conflict. It's a narration on a character, and with that character, there is a conflict. Either it's going this way or going that way, but there is a character. One thing you should understand in every narrative, there is a character in that narrative, either a person or a particular idea, and there is conflict. Last but not the least, framing. Framing it's a theory. However, in this instance, we are looking at framing as an intentional and ethical choice of how truth is presented. Because you will be advocating for policies, you'll be advocating for SDGs. It's important that you intentionally and ethically craft this truth, craft this message, craft this presentation. So how do you do it? What are the choices of words? What are the things you're deciding to include? how are you telling it, can tell you, come here. But you see, as simple as the word come here is, there are other ways I can frame it. There are other ways I can put it. It will still mean come here, right? So that's basically what framing is. It's basically an intent, in this instance, an intentional and ethical choice of how to present what is true. With that in mind, we move on to the SDGs. What is the communication gap that exists in advocating for SDGs? Why do we need to advocate for SDGs? And if there is a need for us to advocate for it, what is the thing that is stopping people from understanding SDGs as it should? Firstly, the technicality of it, technical language. I mean, you agree with me that if you've gone through the SDGs and the over, I think 100 plus priority areas, you see that they are full with technical terms. In communication, at times we call it jargons. They are jargons, they are technical terms that not everybody will understand. And you know, because they were developed by experts, they were developed by technocrats. So they use the words and languages that is available to their profession. So if you're talking about hunger, so there are certain things that that specialists in food, hunger, nutrition, there are certain words that they use, there are certain terminologies that they use. So this gap exists because it's filled with technical languages. Another thing is numbers without faces. Is if you take an SDG report and you go through it, you just be seeing numbers. There are, I mean, from SDG itself, 17 goals, 160 something priority areas. This you just see numbers. They are just data that are not really people centered. So somehow, and then generally, the human minds most time distance itself from numbers, and that is why you will tell someone 1 plus 1. I mean, there is a joke, that people from a certain part of this country, if you tell them 1 plus 1, they will not understand. But when you tell them 1 naira plus 1 naira, they will understand, right? So you see that you are able to attach some certain things to it. And that's how the SDG, so much technicalities filled with numbers that not everybody is able to understand. And then there is a different thing between explaining a thing and inspiring people to action, right? So basically, you know that when you tell information, people are when you give data and the rest, and with the SDGs, 17 goals, 100 and something priority areas, that's information. And we know it, so what, right? But when you tell stories around them, it's able to move people to action. And that's what storytelling does. It moves people to action. So it moves people beyond knowing and then taking a step. Because when you tell stories, you move emotions. But when you give numbers, you just inform people. You just, okay, we know it. So what? And that is why when they tell you there are over 100, there are over 20 million out of school children, so what? You're being informed. But when it's being broken down and being connected to humans, to people, to emotions, to certain faces, people are able to relate to it, people are able to understand it. Hence, the communication gap that exists in SDG advocacy. And then we then go to the next thing, which is the science of stories. Basic thing that we need to understand is that with data, your brain processes language differently. Fact, in working memories, facts in working memories, short retention, no emotional trigger. And that's what data does to you. You just hear them, it just come to you. Your brain processes it, okay. You just know them as facts and you're able to have them, in your brain. But you see, most times these data are only stored in our brains for a very short time. Our brains are not able to retain them. And perhaps that is why SDG itself, if you go around this country and you talk about SDG, there are a lot of people that don't know, even people that are supposed to be policy makers, policy influencers. You tell them, they will tell you, I've heard of SDG. We've heard about it. Oh, I've gone to offices and we've raised some conversation, and people will tell you, especially not shading, but the older folks will tell you, we've heard about it. That is all. Short retention. And it doesn't trigger emotion. But you see, that same thing, when you convert it into stories, and that's the science of storytelling now. Of stories itself, when you convert it into stories, it's able to activate the sensory cortex in your brain. And this is scientific. It's able to activate the sensory cortex, and it fires up emotions on the inside of you. And what do they do then? Retention. You agree with me, for most of us that, earlier on I was hearing that, there are quite a number of students among us, and everybody on the call, I believe you've been to school at one point or the other. And school that you may not be able to remember, but the way the lecturer or the teacher taught it, especially telling you stories, you can remember them. I can still remember one of the things, I may not remember everything that my biology teacher in secondary school, which is like 16, 17 years ago, taught me. But I can still remember a particular story he taught us on reproduction, the story itself. So you see that with storytelling, with stories themselves, you're able to trigger long-term retention. And what they do, last but not the least, it triggers empathy and motivation, because that you can relate to it. And that's a sign. That is why right now in communication, generally, communication is tilting towards storytelling. Because with storytelling, we're able to drive better narrative rather than just giving data. And that is why when you see, even on social media, one of the things that you see some certain platform get certain degree of engagement is because people are able to, it's story. People are able to tell it from their own perception, from their own perspective, sorry. So it triggers a long-term retention, it triggers empathy, it triggers emotion on the inside of SDGs. Let me still remain on this slide before going there. Why then do we need to humanize them? Why then do we need to tell stories around them? Why then do we need to communicate it in a storytelling format? With all of these things I've said, I believe I've established Hello, everyone. Apologies. Welcome to Nigeria, where your network can decide to do what it pleases with you. Apologies for that. So let's go back to where yes, this particular slide. But hope we can all hear me. I wish I was able to interact with the participants directly to hear feedback from them and what they think. However, let's see how we'll just continue from here. I'm trying to look for where I can put my slide. No. Yes. So SDG communication, right? It's important that why do we then need to humanize SDG? Because when we humanize our advocacy messages, when we humanize our advocacy content, people are able to understand it better. And I mean, everything I'll be telling you today, maybe I will say sum up to so that people can understand you better and people will take action. Everything I'll be saying today, that's what it is. When you humanize your advocacy message, your advocacy content, people are able to relate to it. So whether it's your peers or it is policymakers, or you are engaging with the media, or you are engaging with whosoever, you can go to you can meet policymakers and begin to tell them about it. They'll tell you, we've heard about it, and it will stop there. But when you are able to relate it to the story of someone, and in relating it, you're able to tell them what is the issue, who is, and what is needed to be done. Remember, our topic is strategic storytelling. So specifics, what we need to achieve at the end of the day. The message is communicated better, and people are able to relate to it. People are able to take action from it. So let's move on. Humanizing the SDGs. Let's take good health, for instance. SDG 3, good health and well-being. Fatima delivered her baby alone due to the long distance to the nearest clinic. When you hear this, for us as SDG advocates, we'll see that we can easily connect this story to an SDG, which is good health and well-being. And what is being needed with that? Construction of hospital, not only constructing them, but getting them fully functional, operational, functional, with everything that is needed, so that Fatima tomorrow will not be able to go long distance to deliver her baby, so that Fatima can, just come out and just in 5-10 minutes, she has access to the healthcare center and will be able to deliver her baby, so that tomorrow she will not be able to deliver her baby alone. On quality education, Emeka sells water on the this should be because there is no quality education. Or if you check through the priorities of education, what is that thing that is missing? SDG 6, clean water and sanitation. So you're able to see that, they don't have clean water, or they don't have access to clean water. I know it's one thing to have it, it's another thing to have access to it. So if you have access to it and it's within your locality, it's within your community, it's within your neighborhood, you see that you don't need to wake up by 5 a.m. With all of these things, it's telling you different SDG but now connecting it with faces, with humans. And that is how your SDG advocacy should be. While you are advocating for a particular SDG, you should be able to connect the human involved. You should be able to tie it to a particular person. And you don't tell the story of everybody. No. When humanizing SDG, you humanize a person. With that, you are able to narrow it. Yes, it is affecting over 20 million out of school children, but you can tell your story better when you begin by saying, Pam, a young boy in a community in Barking Ladi in Plateau State don't have access to this, or faces the challenges of this. Always connected, always tell your story, always look for one person, one face. When you do that, when you humanize your story that way, whosoever you are engaging with can easily relate to it. And that's what humanizing the SDG is. Always in all of your advocacy, connect your story to a person, connect that advocacy message to a person. And that brings me to the NARA framework. And for me, I turn it to be 4 essential questions for SDG advocacy. NARA, N-A-R-A. What is the N? Narrative. Who is the human being at the center of the story? So you need to identify a human, you need to identify someone. In another I'll say, what is that issue? What is that particular issue you are advocating for? What is that issue, one issue you're advocating for, and who is the human that is at the center of it? A is audience. Who needs to hear this, or who is responsible for taking action? You need to establish this. The audience is who is responsible for taking action, who is responsible, who needs to hear this message, who needs to hear, to whom do we go for these advocacy visits? Register what tune or format fits. Hamid need to add, what channel are you using? Register is basically talking about the medium. How are you framing it? That is, you remember we talked about framing in our core concepts. So this register talks about framing. What medium are you using? You remember, if you're framing, it talks about the decision. So what platform do you want to use? What language do you want to use? What tone do you want to use? The tone you use to communicate to a policymaker is different from the tone you use to communicate to market people. The tone you use in communicating to students in the university is different from the tone you use to communicate to children in primary school. So you need to establish your register. Last but not the least, action. What specific action do you want them to take after you've established who is at the center, or what is that particular issue that at the center? You establish who needs to hear this, who need to take action. You've established the tone, the frame. You've framed your message. Now, what is the action that is needed for them? Specific action. Specific action that you want them to take, specific action that you want at the end of this conversation. So when you go out for your advocacy, you craft your narrative, you have your target audience, you establish the tone in which you want to communicate to them, and then after all the Hausa people say dogon turanci, after all the dogon turanci, what do you want them to do? What specific action do you want? Perhaps is if from 2015, when the yeah, I think it's 2015, right? Yeah, 2015, when sustainable development goal in itself started, if we have been advocating with this specific, perhaps we would have gone far. If we were deliberate in the audience we engage, perhaps we would have gone far. I strongly believe that the Sustainable Development Goal should form our national development goal. Because immediately as a nation, you sign into this, you are expected to, there's a particular word for it. Forgive me, I've forgotten the word. But you're expected to internalize it, let it fit into your development goal. And as a nation, your national development goal, it should also fit into your state development goals. It should also fit into your local government development goal. So you see that if you're going to go on your advocacy, I'm already suggesting specific people you need to take your advocacy message to. Local government leadership, your council leadership, your state leadership, and then to the national platform, national, across the federation. But we also need to start so from your community in Zaria, in Abakaliki, in Akure, in Uyo, in Akwa Ibom, in Minjibir, in Shinkafi, all across the nation. It's important that you coin your message, you coin your advocacy, you ask yourself these four basic questions. If you are able to establish these questions, if you're able to answer these questions for each of your advocacy, you see that you now have a pathway that will lead you to tailoring your message for each and every one. Now let's talk about tailoring your message. And for this conversation, I just brought it down to three distinct segments, stakeholders. Let me use that word. I broke it down to just three stakeholders. There are a lot of stakeholders we can explore. There are a lot of audiences that we can talk about. But for this conversation, let's just use these three. First one is your peers and social media. And your entry point for them is FEMO, an identity. FEMO is fear of missing out. Your peers don't want to miss out. And that is one thing you should also do with social media. People are scared of missing out. And that is why most times you see people engage on some certain things because they don't want to be left behind. They don't want to be alone. And in framing that, you should be able to use a degree of humor and urgency. When you talk with your peers, don't just come and tell them some numbers. Who cares about that? Tell them some story. Try to humor them. And in humoring them, try to put a degree of urgency in it. Also, as you craft your social media message, on the social media right now, virtually everybody has that fear of missing out. We don't want to miss out. So you should come from that perspective. What is it in this thing I want to say that people will not want to miss out? Come from there, right? Second, community and religious leaders, because Nigeria is a very, very religious country. And we are also people that if you tell anybody to really, either my pastor said or Malam said, we are very, very religious people. And also we are people that also respect our community leadership, our mayangwas, our district heads, our that community leadership structure. And what is your entry point when you're going to meet these people? Your entry point should be respect and the ability for that thing to have a local impact. Take, for instance, you want to go and advocate for quality education. You are going to your Miangwa Let's take, for instance, you are in a northern community and we call our community leaders mostly Miangwa. So let's say you're going to engage with your Miangwa, you go to him with respect, you approach him with respect. And then you also go to him, show him the local importance of that thing, local importance of having standard classrooms, local importance of having quality education. And how do you then frame it? Frame it to them using faith or tradition. How does it impact on your faith? How does it impact on your tradition? So last year at Connected Development, we did something. It's a climate change project, and then we looked at it. What way can we do it differently? And we hosted the first ever interfaith climate change conversation in Nigeria. And basically, what we did was to bring religious leaders, both from the Christian faith to the Muslim faith, because these are the two majorly, major religions, in Nigeria. Even though we have traditional this thing, we also need to start exploring, right? Traditionalists. We brought them together and we began to talk. What are those environmental and climate related conversation in the Bible, in the Quran, in the Hadith? How are they? How can we then frame our message to reflect these things as they are reflected in our holy books? So also you can do with our SDG communication, with our SDG advocacy. And at the end of the day, your call to action should be their endorsement and your ability to mobilize them to action. And on this tailoring your message, the last one I want to talk about is policymakers and government officials. One thing, because okay, so last year we had a research that we did still on climate and wanted to engage with the Nigerian Governors Forum. So I had with the contact person I had a conversation with him, and he was telling us that one thing they do is to ensure that amidst your bulky report and the rest, governors don't have the time to go through all of that when they come to the Nigerian Governors Forum. So what they do is to come up with a one-pager. And on that one-pager, it basically consists of evidence and consequences. What are the evidence in this report? What is the report about? Bullet point. What are the evidence that were established? What are the outcomes? Straightforward. So also we need to do with our SDG advocacy message. We need to come from the point of evidence. What are the available evidence? Flooding. I mean, yesterday or the day before yesterday, I was listening on the news. There's going to be flooding in 33 states of Nigeria, including the FCT, in over 200 and something local governments. So you come to them from that place of evidence and the consequences of this evidence that have already been established. And in framing, because these people are mostly, first of all, moved by numbers before the emotion, you establish the data. 245 local governments are going to be flooded. Then you come secondly, now to move that data into action, you don't tell a story around it. Just not local government in Plateau State in the last so years have suffered flooding due to this. Abdullahi he could not do. You see how you're connecting all of these things. You're telling, you've established the data in the framing, you've established the data in the first instance. Right now, you are breaking it down into story. And what is our call to action for people that fall under policymakers and government officials? Is to fund this thing, is to implement. Let's go fund, bring out resources, fund this thing so that we can move from talking to action. And for policymakers, you need to, make legislation. You need to curate legislation. You need to draft legislation. You need to pass legislation. that speaks to these specifics, right? So these are three audiences, three segment, of the society that I know that as we go on with our advocacy, after this after this cohort, we'll be engaging with them very often, right? So this is just something to just open our mind. So for every stakeholder that you're going to be engaging, you need to establish three frameworks, three things. What is the entry point? How are you going to frame it? And what is the call to action? Basic. What do you need them to do at the end of the day? So as you craft your story, you craft it around this. What then are the four-part storytelling story structure? What then are the compelling thing you need to do with SDG advocacy? Number one, you need to establish the problem. What is the problem? And you need to make it concrete and local. Most times we are too quick to tell the story of what is happening outside. How is it happening here? What is the problem here in your community where you are? So you need to first of all establish the problem, establish what is wrong, and you need to make it concrete, relate it as it is to you locally. There is a time in journalism, we call it Afghanistanism, basically coined around the early 2000, 2001, 2, 3. Basically, it was a period whereby, after the whole thing happening in Afghanistan and the rest, majority of journalists around the world were not focusing on what was happening in their community around them, but rather what was happening in Afghanistan. So don't do Afghanistanism with your problem. You need to domesticate it. How is it happening in your local community? And when we say local community, we don't mean thick interior villages. No. Where you are staying, that's your local community. If you are staying in Lekki, that's your local community. If you are staying in Sabo, in a community in Kaduna State, that's your community. That's your local community. So where you are. Secondly, you need to establish what is at stake. Why does it matter? Who will suffer from it? What is it that will be lost? Or what is it that we may lose if we don't take action? And you don't just tell the problem, but also establish the solution. What can be changed? And this is where you establish the SDG intervention that should come. So let's take, for instance, you are able to establish that in your community, Amarachi is not able to give birth, by herself because the hospital is 10 kilometers away from her. So you see, you've established the problem. What is at stake? She might lose the baby. She might lose blood. You establish the problem there now. Solution now. You've established the problem. You've established the stake. You now tell the solution. What can be changed? And then that's where you now connect it to the SDG. If we have good and quality, good health and well-being, connect it to what priority area are you trying to reflect? Maybe infrastructure, healthcare centers, primary healthcare centers. So you see, you are able to establish, it's like a chain. At the end of the day, you should be able to have one axe. After establishing the SDG that it relates to, you should be able to have one axe. What is the call to action? One specific thing. You can tie this to the narrow framework that I established earlier on. Problem, stake, solution, call to action. Are we together? So, thus far, I've basically established why it's important to leverage strategic storytelling in SDG advocacy. I believe that you've been able to connect to the fact why for every of your SDG advocacy, you need to leverage storytelling. Not that you cannot just communicate it, just data and everything and that. No, you can do it. But you see, you don't do advocacy for doing sake. You do advocacy because you want something to change. You want to draw people to action. You want to draw the attention of people to a certain thing. Right? So, and that's why all of this conversation thus far, from this very beginning of establishing the core concept to the communication gap that exists, with telling with SDG advocacy, to the science of story. What is the science of story? To humanizing SDG, why you need to humanize it, why you need to tell that SDG story or that SDG with a person in mind, to establishing these questions that you should ask yourself. This is a framework that I'm gradually trying to build and develop. How does it, what are these four? These are four important questions that you must ask to also understanding how you should tailor your message to different audience. And then to this four-part story structure, this is how your storytelling should look like. Either and it's not saying that you must always stick to this format. Start with the problem, the stake, the solution, and call to action. Times you can even start with the call to action. But for every of your story structure, for every of your advocacy structure, let it have this four components: the problem, what is at stake, the solution, and the call to action. If it's missing any of these things, there is, permit me to use this route, there is scale in your communication. There is scale in your advocacy, and you don't want to have that. You want to have something that is, you know that you went out to do this particular thing, to do this advocacy, and you did it very well. You aced it, right? So you should be able to establish the problem, the stake, the solution, and the call to action. And now let's use a case study. NSAS. What is the data? The data shows that for years there has been report of police brutality all over the country. People have been reporting. People have been, going to police. I was brutalized here. Some people got to the point that they don't even go to report, but incidences happen. But what was the thing that was done differently? Young people begin to tell their specific stories. You agree with me? 2020, people began to say, this was what happened to me. I was on my way to so, and so happened. They were telling their stories. They were sharing the human side of all of the reports on police brutality. And people were able to relate to it. People were able to connect to it. What did we then see? We saw that it led to a nationwide protest using the hashtag EndSARS, End Police Brutality. And what was one thing we learned out of that is that reports alone don't trend. They don't make a difference as they should. But when you are able to have names, moments, experiences, faces, these are the things that trend. Have you ever seen, majority of what may be on Twitter, and Twitter is where conversation trends a lot. Have you ever, in a very long time, seen a report that trended? If you have seen a report that trended, it had to do with a face. So it's very important that we're able to establish this, that data character alone. Don't just do it. What usually change things is the stories, the humans, the videos, the voices from a personal perspective as people communicate it. Also, we follow the money, what we do at Connected Development. Budget allocations to school, always. But what is the story when you tell that Aisha goes to school under the tree, despite allocation and release of funds to her for school construction? When you do that, you're able to establish public accountability driven by a name, right? This is an assignment. Maybe this slide will be shared with you, something you should just look out and then see how you can internalize it. I believe the organizers, please share this slide with them so that they will look at this assignment and they will be able to do it. But for me, at the end of this conversation, key takeaway for me is that stories are strategies, not decoration. Always notice. And then in your advocacy, know your audience before you speak. In knowing your audience, you should be able to use the NARA framework now. Narrative, the audience, the register and action. In conclusion, I would say that you always have the tool. The stories only you can tell. You always have the tool. The story only you can tell. Nobody can tell that story. Nobody can do it better rather than you. Thank you so very much. It's been a pleasure sharing with you. And please, I want each and every one of you as much as possible to share what you learned from this and tag me on social media. I would love to see your I would love to hear from you on social media. You can reach out to me across platform. Nantak Chirfad is my name everywhere. Thank you so very much, and thank you so very much for having me for this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nanpak. That has been an enlightening session. We talked about the core concept of strategic storytelling. We talked about the NARA framework having to do with narrative, knowing who your audience is, register, and then of course what action you're to take. So following that with we identifying to tell a proper story, re-identifying the problems, knowing who is at stake or why does it matter, and finding the solution, and of course the call of action. So we'll now move on briefly to the Q&A session. And then to handle the Q&A session, I would call the co-moderator in person of Ifunaya Juliet Oti to take this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David, for that excellent moderation. Indeed, stories inspire more empathy and motivation than data ever could. Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful session. So just because of time, we're going to be taking just one question because our next speaker is already on the call. So I'm going to read the very first question we have here on the comments, and then our speaker would answer to that question, and then we call on the second speaker to come on board just because of time. But please do save your questions. You can share them in the Discord channel, and we find a way to get that across to Mr. Nampak. Okay, so the first question here would be somebody asking about, so keep dropping your questions, but I think I've lost the last question we have here. The first question we have here, rather. So I'm just going to take this one. You mentioned about presenting evidence to stakeholder/officials. In today's world, where the crisis is before everyone, do one still need to show evidences to government before action? Hello, Mr. Nampak. Did you get that question? Okay, so I think we can take this and then, yeah, we can move to the next session. Thank you very much, sir. We have the floor now.
In your advocacy, maybe let me just say this. In communication, never assume. Never assume. If it is not said, then let me use this pidgin word. It didn't day. If it didn't day, it didn't day. So if it is not said, then it is not communicated. It is so don't assume that it's we have it. Oh, it's there. Oh no, don't assume. Do away with assumption. Be specific. So that's why you must establish the evidence at every given point in time. Because if you don't establish it, somebody will claim that they don't know, and you cannot hold them to their cola. So, on your own part, to ensure that your communication is as beautiful and complete as possible, please establish the facts, establish the evidence, tell them the evidence. I mean, it might surprise you. Not everybody knows, right? Not everybody knows. So, it's important that you always establish the evidence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I hope you get that. It's very important to establish evidence. Thank you very much for the session. David, I can hand this over to you now. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ifunaya, for that. We will now proceed with the second session for today. So our second session is titled Transformational and Ethical Leadership in SDG Advocacy. To guide us through this session, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Abdul Fattah Olajobi. So I'll be reading his bio. Dr. Abdul Fattah Olajobi is an accredited trainer, management consultant, and leadership development expert with extensive experience in healthcare, education, and personal development. He is the Chief Executive Officer of New Neurons Concepts, a change and health management consulting firm focused on health coaching, performance development, leadership growth, and change management coaching for professionals. Dr. Olajobi also serves as the Director of Learning for Brainy Educare Services and is the Deputy Medical Director of Merital Medical Center. He has worked for nearly a decade with the Lagos State Health Service Commission as the Senior Medical Officer and demonstrated strong leadership within the public health sector. In addition, he's the faculty member of Takadia Institute, in the United States of America, where he facilitates e-learning for mini MBA students, equipping them with leadership, business, and career advancement skills. A trained physiotherapist, Dr. Olajobi studied medicine at the University of Lagos and holds diploma in psychology, change management. He also has an advanced diploma in human capital management from the University of Lagos. He is the author of the motivational mathematics book, I Am Loving This Mass, and the founder and president of Reviving Patriotic Values Initiative, RPVI, a non-profit organization dedicated to youth development, leadership, cultivation amongst young people. So this session would basically focus on how we can lead effectively as advocates, grounded in ethics, driven by purpose, and committed to impact. Please stay engaged and attentive as usual. Dr. Abdul Fattah, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Over to you, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir. We can hear you.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I got locked out. I had to get another gadget to sign in.
All right,
Okay,
no
so
problem, sir. Thank you for coming. It's a pleasure having you.
yes,
And we look forward to the wealth of wisdom you'll be sharing.
thank you so much for inviting me too. I'm hoping that I will learn from you as much as you want to learn from me. So I will just share my screen now. Sorry, I'm using this. Should we do this? Sure. Share screen. Okay. Just 1 minute, please.
No problem, sir.
Okay, please. I think I'll just use this other gadget. I was trying to see. Okay, so I'll start now. I'm so sorry. Trying to use another gadget so that I can share my document with that.
Your screen.
But I'll just,
Okay.
yes. But I'll just go ahead to use the one with me now like that. Yes. So I will be talking on transformational leadership. Transformational leadership. And
Yes,
as
it's full.
SDG advocates, I know that you've been going through a lot of programs, and I think the last topic you took was on storytelling. You know,
Yes,
as an
sir.
SDG
Yes, sir.
advocate,
Strategic storytelling.
first, okay, good. As an SDG advocate, the first thing is you are a leader. And leaders, what they do is they impact, they influence, and they have integrity. They create change. I won't have time to talk about the things you've already known. There's no need for that. I want you to get challenged into wanting to do more. We're looking at our world and we want to make it a better place. I'm sure that is why you are on this project. Leadership is not about commanding. It's not about pushing others around. It's also not about being right. It's about creating the change you seek to see. Now, SDG require leaders who inspire change and uphold values. Transformation is important. We're talking about change. And change is the most important or is the most constant thing that happens in human life. And when you talk about ethical, we're talking about value. And if you look at our own society today, I'm not sure am I talking to audience from Nigeria alone? At least I'm talking to audience across Africa. Even
Yes,
our
sir.
world in general. We are in their need of ethical leaders, transformational leaders to create the change that we want. So we need leaders to inspire change. We don't need leaders that will push people around. We don't need leaders that will force people to do things. We don't need leaders that will coerce people to do what they need to do. So what we are looking at is the learning objectives are clear. Understand transformational and ethical leadership, apply leadership to SDGs. At the end of this talk, we should be able to apply it more, and then we should be able to evaluate ethical dilemmas. I'll bring up some of them, and then develop personal leadership plan. I know we've been on our different leadership journeys, and that's not new. But you know, as leaders, we need constant reminders. We need constant wake-up calls so that what we need to do, we'll keep doing it. You know, I really wish that as we all get committed into different projects, we would do it with passion and all the values necessary so that we can achieve what we seek to achieve, which is a society that will change positively, or a society that will improve beyond our imaginations. Now, the ability to influence people toward achieving meaningful and shared goals. The SDGs, I'm sure, are common goals to all of us on this platform. And I'm also believing, or I'm also assuming that none of us was coerced into joining this project. Because when we talk about people being forced into joining the project, then we begin to talk about possibilities of not achieving what we've set out to achieve. Because then people come in with different motives and aims, like politicians. We don't have ideologies. There is a common ideology that we all have for joining this platform. And so that's the assumption. And I believe I'm correct. Now, what is transformational leadership? Transformational leadership inspires and motivates others or people to exceed expectations by transforming beliefs and attitudes. So I'm going to spend a bit of time here because you see, our society is so bad. In fact, our world, I would say, a lot of injustice. And Nigeria is an example of a country in Africa. There's so much corruption. There's so much lies, mistrust, dishonesty. I had to share a video on my social media handle yesterday about cheating. And this is because it's becoming more disturbing than we can ever imagine. It's so disturbing. Most people cheat. Most teachers help their students to cheat in WAEC. JAMB has caught cheating to the barest minimum. But people still try to find some ways around it. And this is disturbing. In WAEC, it's so bad that the last WAEC, I remember, English was done late into the night because WAEC was trying to prevent malpractice. They had to change questions. And so people had to do the exams late. Of course, even WAEC had to soft pedal along the line because a lot of people failed. Things are so bad. Even in higher institution, except in a few schools, cheating is the order of the day in postgraduate studies. Imagine somebody who is studying masters in early childhood, cheating in the exam. This is a mother. In fact, a school owner. So the way we think about doing things is so warped in this country, and we need to change it. And SDGs is not an exception. Yes, we'll talk about fund management. We'll talk about grant allocation and management. We'll talk about monitoring and evaluation, feedback, and all that, and project implementation. How well are we doing all of this? So, as a transformational leader, what you do is you inspire and you motivate people to exceed expectations by transforming beliefs and attitudes. So it's a very difficult thing to do in our society today. But of course, it's doable because we need to help people to change what's in their head, their thinking. I was in a school because, one of the things I do is I run a school with my wife. I was in a school some years back to train teachers on peak performance as a way towards achieving results with your students. And I tried to inspire the teachers that any child, any student can excel. I didn't say any child can learn. but that they can learn and also excel. At the end of the day, the teacher spoke and said, "Thank you so much, Dr. Olajobi. This is impressive. I agree. However, you know, the children of nowadays, they don't, the way their brain is, it's not carrying these books." And I'm like, people are not serious. The way teachers think is funny. The way more parents think is funny. You go to exam centers, you see parents trying to cheat for their students. In fact, I took my students for a competition, Math Olympiad. They came out very sad, telling me about how other students were cheating in the exam hall. And I'm like, must they do it? It's not even WAECO. It's not JAM. It's a competition. Must you do it? So the way people think, we need to change it. We need to help them to change their attitude. Because now people take kickbacks, they take bribes, and they don't know it's wrong. And they don't think it's wrong. So they get to some other climbs, they do it, and they are picked up because it's so rampant here. Now, why am I talking so much about this? Because we need to talk about inspiring this change. So people can see that in these projects, running these SDG projects, we can achieve success. We need that mentality of it being doable so that people can begin to push what is right. And when they see people that don't want to do it right, they tell them this is not right. This is how to do it. And this is why I'm talking so much about this. Then now let's talk about motivating. We can't motivate people if we've not helped them with self-awareness. They don't even know themselves. They don't know themselves. If they don't know themselves, do they know what motivates them? Do they even know where they are going? Because if you don't know yourself, how do you know what you're meant to be doing as a person? How do you know, even if this is not your final goal, how will it impact your life towards doing what you need to achieve in your life as a person? So it's important for you as a leader. And when we say leaders, it doesn't mean you are heading a unit. You may not be heading a unit. You may be a member of a unit, but you are a leader if you create change in your space. You are a leader when you directly or indirectly inspire change and make people sit up to think that they need to do what they need to do. So transformational leadership is about inspiring others, motivating them, making them change their belief from ordinary to extraordinary, making them think that anywhere they find themselves, it must be business unusual, not business as usual. Whatever project you are leading, you don't see it as ordinary. What you want to achieve has to be extraordinary. What your goal is not, oh, this is how they've been doing it. It's about what are we meant to do? What are the goals? What are the standards? And please, don't even think about it. This is Nigeria. I hate to hear that. In my organizations, whether it's the school or school educational consulting or human capital management consulting, I tell my staff, this is not Nigeria. For example, this is the outlier school. This is brainy education. This is no neurons. This is RPVI. Because when people think it's Nigeria, they think they can do anything. And they believe nothing goes for nothing. And they also believe anything they do, good or bad, doesn't have to be checked by anything, by anybody rather. So as a transformational leader, you must be firm on your followers understanding the concepts, the concept that you model. So let's talk about the 4 I's of transformational leadership. includes idealized influence, okay, inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation, and individualized consideration. So when we talk about idealized influence, you're talking about role modeling. As a leader, you must act as a strong role model. You must be able to demonstrate high ethical standards, integrity, and commitment. Your followers will respect you and trust you. And often they will want to emulate your behavior, even when you're not there. And of course, this speaks to me too, because I'm still working hard on being that idealized, that role model. And also of being able to inspire change, even when I'm not there. And then of the people I leave behind, just in case I'm no more tomorrow, being able to carry on without me. Let's talk about inspirational motivation. As a leader, you must be able to communicate in a clear way. You must be able to communicate a clear and compelling vision of the future that you envision. You should be able to inspire others to achieve more than they thought possible. Make them feel invincible. It includes using encouragement, enthusiasm, and meaningful goals. You know, when you see people like Tony Robbins, I mean, I don't know if you have read Unlimited, Awakening the Giant Within, and Unlimited, is it Unlimited Possibilities? You would see that what you think about possibilities is too small, because you actually can achieve much more than you can ever imagine as a human. We all have superpowers. So as a leader, you make your followers feel there is a superpower sitting within them, and there's a way to locate it. There's a way to identify it and bring it out so that the world will be illuminated. How many times have you thought about the fact that this Zoom that we are making use of, somebody developed this app and we all are using it now? We all are benefiting from it. How many times have you, because of that, thought about yourself and, you know, searched within to ask what are the capabilities you have with which you can develop something that the world too can enjoy from, can benefit from, whether you are alive or you are gone. So as a leader, you need to develop your communication skills. Verbal communication, written communication, even body language. You must be able to develop it so you can, you know, communicate your vision for others to see and understand. Then intellectual stimulation. A leader, so the leader encourages creativity and critical thinking. Okay?
Hello, everyone. I believe Dr. Lujobi would be back. Is probably his network. So let's give him some seconds or minutes. So going through the course, I'm going through the presentation we have. I believe we're talking about the 4 I's, talking about idealized influences. That means as a leader, you should be a mentor. You should be someone that is worth looking up to. Is someone that should be impactful as well. Talking about inspirational motivation, you should be able to motivate those who work under you or work with you. as well. He talked about how followers should be able to understand the concepts that you are trying to produce or you're trying to get as well. And then he was also emphasizing on the fact that to become good leaders, we must also be able to help boost or develop our communication skills to be able to communicate our vision. And I believe to a large extent that goes hand in hand with our first session, which talked about strategic communication. How do you communicate? How do you humanize your story so that you are able to communicate your vision clearly or strategically so that people that work with you or the people that would work with you, stakeholders and the likes, would be able to understand your vision and also pick up from where you are or pick up from what you're doing to actually contribute to the impact you're trying to create. So I believe that we've been having an amazing session so far. We've had two amazing speakers speak to us. We are currently in the second session, and I could see that the vibes and experiences and everything basically on the YouTube live is still currently going, and everyone is having as much time as possible. I believe people are talking about their take home, people are sharing what they've learned. So let's keep on sharing what we've learned so far. Let's keep talking about what we are learning currently as we wait for Dr. Olajobi to join the call. All right, I believe Dr. Olajobi is in.
I'm so sorry. I got logged out again. I'm so sorry.
No problem, sir. We understand the network issues affecting everybody.
Can you allow me share? Okay. Share. Okay, so I was talking about intellectual stimulation and the fact that the leader, should constantly work on stimulating his team members or our team members, encourages creativity and critical thinking. And I said that even if you are not the head of that team, but you're a team member, you should be able to encourage this as a leader. This leadership is not about positions alone. Leadership is not a tagline alone. Then the fourth I is individualized consideration. The leader pays attention to each individual's needs, strengths, and development. This includes mentoring, coaching, providing personalized support to help each person grow. Now, as a leader, as a transformational leader, you must be able to help your teammates discover or guide them towards discovering their strengths and weaknesses and how they can use that to solve. As a transformational leader. Also, if we, take this into SDGs, transformational leadership and SDGs, we'll talk about mobilizing communities, about inspiring innovation, and driving sustainable change. So you see, you get to some communities, even if it's your own community, for example, your classmates, you pitch some ideas to them, they don't get drawn into it. But when you become a transformational leader, you should be able to communicate in such a way that whatever community it is, even if it's your friend, no matter how much they are doubters, You should be able to inspire them towards buying into the idea that you're bringing up. You should be able to mobilize the community. You should be able to inspire the innovation that you desire for sustainable change. Let's move to ethical leadership because of time. When you talk about ethical leadership, it's even more critical in our own environment. One major thing that is missing is ethical leadership. And I'm hoping that you guys are not going to pay lip service to this. You guys are going to take it up seriously and lead ethically and show that you're leading ethically. So there's something called showmanship in leadership, in change, in project implementation. You don't just do what is right, but you must also show the people that you're doing it for that they should see it, you're doing what is right for them. So they see that your leadership is ethical. Let me give you a very good example. In medical practice, there's something called universal precaution. Universal precaution is when an healthcare provider is about to attend to a patient, you're going to assume that this patient may have any infection, or even I may have contacted any infection that I'm not even aware of right now, and my patient doesn't know, and I don't want to infect my patient with whatever infection I'm having. And so the way I'm going to work with that patient is I'm going to wear my gloves. I'm going to use brand new needle and syringes. I'm going to also let the patient see what I'm doing. So when I want to draw the injection from the container, I'm going to show the patient the syringe and the needle, the way it is packaged, newly, intact. I will open it in the presence of my patient and even tell my patient, look, this is a brand new needle and syringe. I'm opening it now. I'm going to use it to pull this injection. I'm going to inject you. It's going to be a bit painful. Please bear with me. It's just going to take about 30 seconds or 1 minute. And then when I'm doing it, I must be seen doing it. It's called showmanship. You know that I'll just tell the patient with mouth and then I'll bring something, even though it's new. But if the patient doesn't see it, if the patient is diagnosed with an infection later in the future, he remembers that, oh, he took injection while in my clinic. Then the patient can easily say, oh, maybe I was the one that gave him, I must have been the one that gave him infection because he didn't have infection before that injection. Because I didn't allow him or her to see me do it clean. So in ethical leadership, you must also be seen. Look at our leaders. People will just say, oh, they steal money. They may not be stealing money, but because they don't show us that they don't steal money, the leadership is unethical. Okay? You cut down on the spendings on the citizens. You don't cut down on your own spendings as a leader. You know, these are just examples I'm giving you. So you have to look at it also within the SDGs. You must show integrity. You must lead with integrity. You must show accountability. You have to publish records. If you are the accountant, you must be detailed. There's nothing to hide. If you are the president, you must work with the accountant in such a way that everything is transparent. There's fairness. When you are giving allowances, if it's according to the Constitution, you have to do it according to the Constitution, and you have to do it for everybody that deserves it, and be seen to be fair. This ethical leadership. Of course, your coming into power has to be ethical. You can't do something ethical when your coming into power is unethical. Either you won, if it's an election, by rigging or by bribing people, it's unethical. You see, when people don't understand The ethics is real and is very important. They don't know and they do anything. Meanwhile, the project you're running is not going to go far. You won't get the kind of results you want from it. And then people will be wondering, this organization is wealthy now, we are rich now, and we are not getting results. You will not get results. It's just like someone that is running a business and is disloyal to customers or dishonest to customers. You can make money in the short term, but you will never go far. Never. That's why in business school, you'll be taught business ethics. It's real. Why do we have justice? Because we are not supposed to cheat others. Principles of ethical leadership, I mentioned them. Integrity. You must be seen as somebody who says something and they find you doing that thing. You don't have integrity if you say, for example, maybe you are working in the health space and you're trying to cut down infection, and then they see you not using your protective gear, and you are the one that talks about it and you're not using it. There's no integrity. Accountability, you should be able to publish records and people should see it. Transparency is part of it. Let them see when you're taking the money. Let them see how you're spending it. Let them see when you're giving them feedback. Let them see that you're returning back the money. Fairness, you must be fair to all. Whether the community, members of the community are your families or not, whether they have your religion or not, whether they are of your tribe or race or not, you must be fair to everybody. Whether they don't believe in God or not, it's not your headache. You know, it's so funny. The last election, people were saying, you know, I'm a Muslim. And then I heard some of my friends say, oh, they want to vote for Tinubu because he's a Muslim. And I'm like, is he going to be leading in a mosque? Is Nigeria a mosque? What's the business of religion in our leadership as Nigerians? Religion doesn't have any space. Religion is a personal entity of the individual that is coming in. You have to look at the person. Is the person worthy to give leadership to? You can't say because it's from your religion, you vote for the person. You're not fair. You're not just. Or you're going to give this person the opportunity to enjoy this benefit that the NGO is I just gotten because it's from your tribe or it's from your state. That's madness. It's not fair. Their respect for dignity, your respect for person. We must respect people. Forget about their religion. Forget about their tribe. When you're doing things for communities, you must be ethical. It doesn't matter. In fact, whether you're a Muslim or a Christian, even God wants you to do good to everybody. God doesn't want you that because you're a Muslim, you will do good to people that are not Muslim. And you will not do good to Muslims that are not Muslim. You do good to those that are Muslims. It's unethical, even religious-wise. The same thing with the Christian scripture. Doesn't want you to do bad to people because they are not in your religion. You do good to everybody, whether they are in your religion or not. And standard ethical leadership, you do good to everybody, even if they are atheists. That's not your headache. Because somebody is atheist, they bring the person to your hospital. You say the injection is due. You are not giving the person injection at the right time. You have to give the person injection at the right time. Okay, in the context of SDGs, no misuse of funds. You don't use funds the way you like. You know, I have a mentee that told me that she had to question the president of our organization. She is just the project officer. And they are equipping the secretariat. And then she saw the prices that they are giving different materials. This one, this 1,000, that one, that 1,000, this one, this million. So when she came to seek my advice, I said, there's little or nothing you can do. You can just speak about it. You can give advice. But you can't force your boss not to do what she knows she wants to do. I realized that the boss is coming from the political space. She has been in power before in government. And you know how they spend money in government? It's wasteful. Please, SDG money, please don't misuse it. Manage it well. Save it. Cut spending. Budget well. That's ethical leadership. You're saving the world from destruction. Inclusivity. Try to practice inclusion as much as possible. Try to have as many people as possible from different religions and different states of origin and different ethnic groups. As much as possible, you're going to get better results than being silly. Oh, this person is not from your tribe, or this person is not from your religion. You won't get much results. Except the project you are running is a religious project. You are doing it for a religious group. You know that you must be sentimental. Those people that belong to that religious group are the people that you should use so that you can get results. And anybody that doesn't belong to that group but is willing to participate there must not judge the people, must act the way those people will act in their system. And that's how to get results. Then, when you're giving feedback, ethical leadership requires you to do honest reporting. Integration now. Transformation without ethics is dangerous. You can't say you are transforming a place. Look at Nigeria now. Power supply is worse. I don't understand. But we learned that things are happening. We must be ethical. When you're spending money, money should be seen that as you're spending it, it is reflecting. If it's not reflecting the lives of the people, the life standard of living of the people, then you should question yourself. You're implementing an SDG project, and the community is not feeling the impact, and you're spending money, and they're allocating money. There's a problem. Ethics without transformation is ineffective. If you're not getting transformation as required, then it's ineffective. I'm going to rush now. Leadership and SDGs. Leaders must navigate complexity. They must collaborate with others and sustain impact. No matter how difficult situations are, you must be able to, find your way around it. You must be able to collaborate with others. And that's why you must be flexible. You should be able to work with others. Now let's talk about ethical dilemmas. Ethical dilemmas. Data manipulation. You cannot manipulate data because you expected that women should be more this than men, and then you are seeing that men are more. Please leave it like that. That's what you got. You may need to go back and do more research to see if there are some confounding factors that gave you that result. Favoritism, I've talked about that. No favoritism to anybody, whether they are your family member or ethnic member or religious member, it doesn't matter. Resource allocation must be done appropriately. You cannot be allocating resource to this community because your mother's father originated from that community. The other community will now suffer because of that. Okay? Because of time, we won't be able to discuss. I was hoping that we would discuss this. Let's talk about barriers. Corruption is a big barrier. And in Nigeria, people don't realize that I'm sorry. Is one, and it's a common thing in Nigeria, and people think it's normal because it's gone for too far, but you can't allow it to work against your project. Lack of self-awareness as individual and as a group. You must be self-aware. Fear. People are afraid of doing what is right because they believe that people are used to doing what is wrong. You can't allow it to happen if you are the one on the project or you are leading the project. And then weak systems. You have to create systems. And this is one of the biggest challenges you can have as a leader. You have to create systems. No matter how good you are, if you don't create systems, I'm sorry, you may not be able to go far. Let's talk about developing yourself. So you have to develop your self-awareness. You need to learn about yourself. You need to understand yourself. Self-awareness is about knowing the way you feel and the way your emotion progresses and how it can be impacted in your environment. Emotional intelligence is self-awareness is a component of emotional intelligence. Being understanding how your emotion is running and understanding how you can manage it, understanding how to use it to relate to others, and understanding that you cannot change other people's emotion. You can only manage your own emotion so that the other people's emotion will not impact you, or you will not impact them negatively. That's emotional intelligence. You don't want to get angry unnecessarily so that your work will not be affected. Okay? Vision building. You have to build your vision as a leader. As an individual, you must do it. Value-based decisions. You must make decisions based on positive values. Leadership reflection is one thing you must do. You have to think about your own leadership style as an individual, and what you actually want to achieve as an individual in terms of leadership. You have ethical decision model. You need a way to always think. You see issues as a leader, you must be able to deal with it. Then you must have an action plan for issues when they arise. So I want to give you this assignment activity. So I want you to design your own SDG project. I know you may have done that already. Look at the problem, create a vision for it. What action will you take? And what are the ethical considerations around this project? And closing reflection, what will you do differently after listening to this? I'm hoping that this talk will not end in this Zoom room. I'm hoping that what you've listened to at this seminar will not end here, and that you're not going to just make use of it for your SDG project alone, but you will also use it in your life generally. Anywhere you find yourself, you're a doctor, you're going to use it in the hospital. If you are an accountant, you're going to use it in your accounting firm. If you are a lawyer, you're going to use it in your law firm. And what impact will you create? What impact are you going to create? Now, key takeaways. I'm challenging you to create change, inspire change wherever you find yourself. In the SDG project, inspire change. At home, inspire change. At work, inspire change. In your neighborhood, inspire change. I'm challenging you to lead with values. Please, don't look at the Nigerian environment that is so bad. Don't look at Nigerian society that's so chaotic and people that are cheating themselves or cheating others. Please, be focused on ethics. You look at why you chose to work on SDGs. I know some of you may have chose to work on SDGs because you want impact, and some may just be thinking, maybe I can make money from it. It's all good. But what you should look at more is how can you use these SDGs to impact the larger society? Because, see, when you make impact, you make money. When you create solutions to problems, you make money eventually. It may not be immediately, but you'll be fine later. Another thing about impacting is you're going to have peace of mind. And finally, combine transformation and ethics to achieve the change you desire. Thank you for listening. I want to stop there. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olajobi, for that very, very informative session. It was amazing listening to you. Inspire change wherever you find yourself, and then focus on ethics. You've talked about leadership, talked about transformational leadership, talked about ethical leadership, the 4 I's, talking about how we can develop ourselves to become good leaders, talking about self-awareness, building good emotional intelligence, have good vision or build a good vision, and then value-based decision. It was amazing listening to you, and we'll now move on to the Q&A session because I'm sure our advocates have a lot of things to ask you as well. So to handle the Q&A section, I would like to invite my amazing co-moderator in person of Ifunaya to handle that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David, for again moderating so excellently. And thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful session. You just reminded me that as Nigerians, we're not angry enough. And anger is not just enough. It should be channeled into something really meaningful. So thank you. I know our participants have so much to ask. So I'm going to be on the comment session now to get questions. Please, everyone, if you have questions for Mr. Olajobi, kindly drop it now so we would share with him. Seeing the comments, everyone is thanking Mr. Olajobi, like everyone. I mean, I know Network wanted to tempt us today, but it didn't work, right? Because I can see the reactions. It was an informative session. You know, so many thank yous. Somebody said we have a long way to go in spreading messages of ethics. I agree, actually. Somebody said barriers now water. Okay, thank you so much, guys, for the compliments, the comments, the recommendations and everything you have. I would like to take questions now. Okay, I see the first question. Sunday Timothy is asking, how do we navigate through corruption, fear, and weak system when we are creating an impactful project in a country like Nigeria? There's another question here, but I'd like to ask Mr. Olajobi, would you like to take the questions as they come, or would you like to take them when want to take like about 2 to 3 questions? So do you want to take them as they come, or do I read all of them to you at once?
Maybe we can. I didn't take a pen with me, so I'm trying to see if a pen is there.
Sorry, sir, I didn't get that.
I said I didn't take a pen with me.
Okay, so let me just. Did you get the first question? I'm going to read that again. I hope I've not missed it. So many comments on here.
Yes, I got that first question. Let me address it.
Great.
So that first question says that how do we navigate corruption in an environment like Nigeria while trying to work on projects? So this is it. You see,
yeah,
we need to create our own ecosystem. I know it's hard. You see, I tell people today, I still spoke to one of my organizations. I spoke to my staff. I said, I am crazy about changing where I am. I am not out to change Nigeria because Nigeria is so big and I'm not the president. I'm not even a governor. But I can change where I am or make where I am better. So let us look at, just focus on the projects you are running. Please, look at the projects you are running. If you are the head of projects, make sure that everything is done ethically. You know, the funny thing is, we are either Muslims or Christians. Even in traditional religion, it is not expected of us to cheat. So be truthful to your God. Don't be thinking, oh, I'm going to seek for repentance from God after cheating others. They released money for you to run a project that you're supposed to use 70% of it on the capital project and the remaining 30% to pay the workers. Buying materials and all 70%, then you use about 30% or 25% to buy the material. It can be qualitative. And then we are thinking about the money we are taking home. And we are thinking that money It's okay. No, that money is not okay. It's illegit. You can make good money by doing what is right. So focus on what you can change. As a project manager, look at that small project in quotes, because no project is small, because you are the head of it. Run it well. Every project you lead it well. Lead it ethically. Just do anything you do well. I've met people out and they will ask me, how are you doing this? I've gone to train organizations, and even in some of them, they will say, you've given us all the information. We are not going to need to come back to you. Why would you do that? You should have given us small information that we still need to come back to you so you can make more money. Like, no, I don't need to do that. I will give you all the information. For this particular topic, I'll give you all the information. And then if you need something else, you will realize that there was a way I took that I should be able to take this one to you will come from if there's need. Otherwise, God will provide for me. So please, let's focus on what we can do. The project that you are managing, lead it well, lead it ethically. No matter how small, you just keep doing it and let the people that you work with work in that way too. When they have to lead other projects too, they will lead it like that. If you show good example, inspire them. It's not, don't worry yourself about how bad Nigeria is. Too much. I'm not saying that you shouldn't worry at all, because it's our concern. But worry more about the things you can control. Don't waste your energy about the things you can't control.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for answering. Somebody said, it can't be like, make this session no finish. I agree, right? But yes, let's take the next question now. I'm going to be reading questions that are not repeated. So if your question is missed, just know that somehow it might have been tackled while he was speaking. So the next question here is, how can leaders, sorry, I think this has been answered. Okay, so we're going to take this one. For people in my locality that pour their waste in the drainage when it's raining, please, how can I make them change? So I'm going to read another question. I think you're going to take that question briefly with another one. Please send in your questions. I'm seeing limited questions here on the comments.
Did you say I should go ahead to answer that question?
Okay, so while we are on that, I think that people are just asking about the attendance. I do not know if you do not have questions. I'm sure you do. But since I've already read that particular question, sir, you take it with this one, the one that someone is asking in a country like Nigeria. Sorry, these messages are so fast, coming in so fast. Okay, yes. So for people in my locality that pour waste in the no, that's the one I took.
Yes, you read it already.
Okay, so how do you convince people in the community that are against a particular change? Let's say when they don't welcome a project you want to work on. So this is something we can take. Ibrahim Azia is asking, how do you convince people in the community that are against a particular change? Let's say when they don't welcome a project you want to work on. So this means they carry a project to a community and the people do not accept it. And she's asking, or he's asking, how do you convince them? Thank you, sir.
Okay. So I will start from this second question. How do you convince people in the community to buy into the change that you're bringing? So we need community participation. So there has to be community involvement. When the people are drawn into the project, they may be able to participate in it. But how do you convince them to even participate in it? You need to understand the dynamics of change. Change has 3 steps. You unfreeze, you create the change, and you refreeze. So 3 steps. You unfreeze, you create the change, and you refreeze. So because those people are frozen in the ways they've been doing things, this is how they understand it. This is how they want to do it. This is how it's easy for them to do. So they're stuck in that way. So they're frozen. So you need to unfreeze them. After unfreeze them means you have to explain to them, because people are always afraid of change. People don't believe they are going to, even when they're seeing the results. There was a research that was done. I think it was about water. People were dying from some sea water, and then somebody taught them how to boil water or add some chemicals to the water to purify the water. And then people that were purifying the water, there were more people that were not dying from that group. Yet people were still finding it difficult. So you must know that change is difficult. And you need to understand the bell shape of normal distribution. There are people that are the change makers. They are the innovators. Then you have the early adopters. You have the early majority. You have the late majority. And then you have the laggards. So when you understand these 5 groups of people, your being able to change a community may become easy. It doesn't mean it's going to be fast, but you will know that it's a process. 2.5% of the people are innovators. So if you have 100 people in a community, try and find 3 people that easily are thinking about the same thing. You can do a random questioning around, and then you may be, if you find 3 people that were already thinking like, oh, this thing they are bringing, maybe they were thinking about it already. They are in the team of the innovators. Then when these innovators are sure of what they want to do, then they can begin to talk to some people that they've seen that they are influencers. Look for the influencers in the community. And then amongst the influencers, there are different categories. People that will easily buy into your idea. These should be the early adopters. The early adopters, they are usually not much. They are about 13.5% of the community. Then you look at the early majority. The early majority, I think they're about 30 or 35% of the community. Then you have late majority. By the time you have the early adopters, then you know that you've progressed. And this is, you see, I'm hoping that maybe one day we'll have time to talk about this, because we need to understand the change process. If you want to sell something to a community, you must know that it's not going to be an easy deal. It will be much easier for you when you understand this concept. I'll say you should read Blink, Blink, by Malcolm Gladwell. Blink. Let me type it in the comment segment. Blink. If you read Blink, you understand this concept, and you'll be able to deploy Malcolm Gladwell. Yes. If you read Blink, Malcolm Gladwell talks about how markets are disrupted, how communities change when some small changes occur. So I think I will stop there for that first, that second question. Let me go to the first question. People in my locality, okay, I think it's about the same thing. People in my locality, they are throwing dirt in the drainage. I think that one problem they have is that they don't understand the danger. And the danger may not even be clear to them. If there is a community development association, okay, you can bring it up there. You may need to have done something to be able to bring it up. because they don't realize that when they throw their debt into the drainage, it's going to block the drainage, and this is what causes flooding, messes up the society. All right. So you explain that. Then you need to mobilize the community, those amongst them that are going to agree with you, to provide trash bins, maybe tanks, maybe drums, big ones. I mean, I don't know the environment you're referring to. If it's a community where there are people that are able to come once a week or once in 2 weeks to carry the debt, then we work together as a community. So we all need to learn community mobilization, community participation, and marketing also. If you want to create change, we must be able to learn marketing. I think this is how we can do it. You can raise it at a community meeting. It means you must be available for community meetings. Then you must be a good communicator. You must be seen as a member of the community that participates in community projects before they can listen to you. And by the way, you shouldn't think it's an unsurmountable task or it's far-fetched. No, it's not really far-fetched. It's doable. For you to think about it, it means it's doable if it happens in your community. So I think I would stop there so that we can ask if there's still any other question. I'm not sure our moderator is still here. Okay, so I'm done with the questions so far.
Yes, thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
There is no better way to answer those questions. So right about now, I'll be calling on my co-moderator, David, to take over. Over to you, David.
All right, thank you very much, Ifunanya, for that. Thank you so much, Dr. Olajobi, for that enlightening session and for answering all the participants' questions. Also, thank you very much to the advocates and participants who have tuned in till now and then has been able to contribute to this session. So moving forward, we'll move on to the announcement segment, and I would like to invite Adiola Olabukumi, who is the Programs and Strategic Lead, to give the announcements.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Wow, this session has been a whole lot. My note is full. My note is actually, and I want to say congratulations to all the advocates. I mean, if you're actually in this session, for me, I would say this is actually like the best session that we've had. This masterclass area has been a whole lot. I can't wait. And the good part, I mean, the most interesting part of this is that Dr. Olajobi has even went to the ground for what I'm about to speak to. So in a minute, I'm going to be bringing up my screen just to make quick announcements. Yes, so like I said, congratulations to all the advocates. We are now halfway in becoming an advocate, actually. Yes, we are still pre-advocate. We are now halfway into the certified as an advocate. So this is the Masterclass 3, and we are going to Masterclass 3. And the one thing that you should notice is that we started tracking. We have our metric set for the program. We started picking all these things. So it's not just for you to be attending. It's not just for you to be engaging to discuss with. There are things that we are tracking. The assessment, your participation, your contribution. So this is very important for you to note because I mean, at the end of this 4 masterclass, we're going to be having this. Then there's a phase 2 of the program, which we call the lead and SDG project. And before you are able to move to that phase 2, then you need to pick some things in this phase 1 of the program. So I will be speaking extensively to what the lead and SDG project is about. Like I said, Dr. Olajobi has even spoke a lot of things. It's all about you taking a project, owning a project. Yeah. If you are familiar with the advocacy program, you will know about the only school project that we normally do, the second phase of the program. But this time, we want to expand the scope. want you as advocates to pick your favorite SDG. I mean, we have 17 of them, so why should we streamline you to just working on a good education on here? So we want you to be able to pick from several SDGs that we have. So this is to start preparing you for what the phase two will look like, and to also show more commitment and dedication, because as we move on now, some people will be some people will have to excuse us from this program based on their inactiveness. Yeah. So if you are active, there's nothing for you to worry about. Yeah, you are in good hands. So your commitment, your engagement on the Discord, all those things are built right. And I really want to see everybody the phase two of this program, which is what they did. So as time goes on, we are going to be telling you all you need to do for the phase two of the program. I mean, there's a whole lot of things. There's a part where you get to share your proposal, where we get to approve your proposal, and where you get to implement your idea, your proposal. Now, the other thing that I want to speak to is the fact that we are now also working. Yeah, so we are now also working how we are doing things. We've gotten feedback during the week. Some of us are complaining that the time the assessment is always launched when we are at work. I need to just start on Monday. Not always easy for us to attend the assessment while we're at work or very busy or just starting the week. So we are working that process now. By evening today, we are going to be getting the session recording of the session. Yeah, so Masterclass 3 recording session will be made available to us at the end of today. And then by tomorrow, the assessment will be launched so that we can all attend the assessment starting from Saturday. And this is going to be made available to attempt through to Tuesday. Yes, so you have Saturday to Tuesday to attempt your assessment. We are being generous here to be sincere. We are being generous here to be sincere. So after the session of 4 today runs out, this session recording will be made available. So you're able to watch if there's any part of this session that you've missed. And then starting from tomorrow, the assessment is going to be launched. So you are able to also attempt it, give it to your best to actually prove that you are part of this session today. Yeah, so that will be all on announcement for this masterclass. Once again, I would say congratulations to all the advocates. This session has been a very good one. It's a super packed one and it's energetic. So I want to thank you for being part of today's session. So I want to over the microphone back to David as we close the session. Very good 2 hours, 30 minutes on this call. Over to you, David.
All right, thank you very much, Adiola. That was also informative, and I believe every participant and advocate took notes. So before we close, I'll just take a brief recap of what we did with the session before we take the closing remarks. So in the first session, we explored strategic storytelling for SDG implementation, emphasizing that storytelling is not just about presenting data, but it's actually moving people to action. And so the key idea there was humanizing SDG by connecting them with real people, real experiences, and relatable challenges, rather than just relying on just data presented generically. So we also discussed important elements of strategic storytelling, such as having clear purpose, understanding your audience, designing your message that inspires specific action. And I believe a major highlight for all of us was the NARA framework, which is narrate, audience, register, and action, which guides or shows how stories should be structured and how they should reach, who they should reach, the format they should take, and of course, the impact they should drive, all ensuring ethical and intentional communication. And in this current second session, the focus shifted to transformational and ethical leadership, where leadership was described as the ability to influence people towards meaningful and shared goals. Transformational leadership centers on creating impact and inspiring change, while ethical leadership emphasizes on integrity, accountability, fairness, and transparency. And so a key takeaway from the session was that effective leadership should begin with self-development, including self-awareness, emotional intelligence, vision building, and value-based decision-making. So together, both sessions, I believe, highlight the importance of impactful storytelling and a strong ethical leadership towards achieving sustainable change and advancing the sustainable development goals in Nigeria and, of course, in the world at large. So I'll be inviting Opeife Faridat, who is the team lead for programs and operation, SDSN Youth Nigeria, to give the closing remarks. Faridat, over to you.
Thank you very much, David Ikwere and Ifnayoti, for your excellent moderation. As we bring today's session to a close, I would like to leave you with a simple but powerful lesson that I've learned from our masterclass sessions today. And that is, stories move people and people move change. Today, thanks to the amazing Mr. Surfat, we've seen how storytelling and leadership come together in SDG Advocacy and how our voices are more than just a means of expression, but a tool for influence. The way that we tell our stories can shape perspectives, inspire action, and connect people to causes that truly matter. But another thing we've learned today is that beyond telling powerful stories, we also are called to lead. And leadership, as we've learned from the terrific Dr. Olajobi, is not about position. It is about responsibility, influence, and integrity. It is about choosing to do what is right, even when it is not easy, and committing to a vision that creates meaningful impacts. So as we continue our journey, I encourage us all to be intentional, both in how we communicate and how we lead. I want us to be very clear about the change we want to see. We should stay grounded in our values and remain authentic in our approach, because it is at the intersection of storytelling and ethical leadership that real transformation happens. The Sustainable Development Goals Advocate program is not just about who can speak, but who can inspire. Let's not just lead, but lead with purpose and integrity. And each of us has the capacity to do just that. I would like to sincerely appreciate our speakers, Mr. Surfat and Dr. Olajobi, for their insightful and impactful session today. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and guiding us so effectively. Thank you as well to everyone for your active participation and engagement throughout today's session. Keep refining your voices, keep leading with purpose, and keep driving change. Thank you, and see you here same time next week.
All right, everyone, that's it for today. Thank you very much, Faridat. Thank you, everyone, once again, for joining us. And we sincerely do hope to see you in the next session next week. Do have a good evening.